Hello everyone, and welcome back to the horrors of XBLIG. And welcome back to one horror in particular, Decay. Last time we went through Decay Part 1, and as we started Decay, we found our protagonist in his bathroom, hanging from his neck, apparently having attempted to commit suicide, but the attempt was in failure. Our protagonist couldn't quite remember, however, why he wanted to kill himself, or even who he was. So we took a look around his apartment, we looked around the apartments of his neighbors, and it seemed that the suicide attempt was probably out of grief due to the deaths of his daughter, son-in-law, and granddaughter. We solved some puzzles, had a riveting game of tic-tac-toe against a ghost, and then ended with fixing our bathtub, but instead of a nice warm bath, our bath was filled with black water, in which we dove, and that's how Decay Part 1 ended. Now we're starting Decay Part 2 out of 4. So let's get started and see where we ended up after diving into the black tub. The little recap we just saw there, mentioning something that I did not mention. We saw in the first Decay something about a Mr. White, the ghost we played tic-tac-toe against. It implied that he might be a serial killer. We saw a newspaper clipping talking about a serial killer still at large, or on the large, as I was about to say. It's probably not correct to say it that way. Let's say on the loose. They called him the Pale Man. But if Mr. White is dead, then I guess there's no need to worry about him anymore, is there? He's also not very good at tic-tac-toe. We'll skip the tutorial because the controls of Decay Part 2 are exactly the same as Part 1. There is no change in the gameplay mechanics from the first to the second. We might recognize what this is. It's a bathtub full of black water. So after we dove into the tub at the end of the first game, we came out here. However, it seems to have been a one-way trip. We can't go back. Why would we go back? We have to figure out what's going on, after all. Someone writing us notes is very demanding. I think we've made pretty good time. Ourselves. And if someone wants us to hurry up, maybe they shouldn't be putting all these puzzles in front of us. Just a thought. And whereas the first Decay took place in our home, this decay takes place in an office complex. Of course, we can't leave. The door and windows are boarded up. So all we can do is look around and try to figure out why we're here. Why did the bathtub take us here, of all places? As in all good survival horror games, the elevator has no power. And that leaves us with only one way to go for right now. Well, I said survival horror, but this isn't really survival horror. This is a horror-themed point-and-click game. There have been no enemies so far. No ways that we could die. Will that change in this game or the games after? Who can say? But in Decay Part 1, there was no danger. Now, we find in this office complex a small toy piano. It's operable, but no indication as to what we might play on it, aside from a smear on one of these keys. Maybe we might want to just remember that for later, because as for right now, there doesn't seem to be any indication on what we might be able to do with that. Nothing else here at the reception desk. But at least we found this box that lets us turn the power on to the elevator. Even if there's nothing else in there. Let's take a look at the other floors. See if we can find any clues. We can't go down to the basement because this elevator requires us to have a key in order to access it. There must be something very important down in that basement. I've never seen an elevator with a locked-off floor like that. Oh, and on the second floor, we find the offices of Shining Gate Software, the makers of Decay. However, the door is locked, and we have no access card. We actually have no items at all. All the items we had at the end of Decay have been stripped from us. We start fresh. And we're unable to go through this boarded-up door, so I guess there's nothing on floor 2 for us right now. Oswald Estates. We have seen the name Oswald before, but once again this door is locked. The same way, we still have no keycard. Perhaps the tic-tac-toe playing ghost owns the office that's behind here. Maybe we can see what he did for a living when he was among the living. Fortunately, the 4th floor has no lock. And it takes us out onto the roof. We can finally see the outside, as in the entirety of Decay 1 we were inside. We can see what appears to be a nice sunset, but still no signs of life anywhere. Triangle is less than 7. This is something we should remember. Fortunately, we found an access card to Oswald's office here on the roof. That seems like a careless thing to just leave around like that, where anyone could pick up, like us. Why do you suppose someone would have left it here? Well, we know whose card it is anyway, this Anne Soderlund. And if this note is accurate, we might have an idea of why she left it on the roof and where she might be right now. It's quite unprofessional to come to work with hands that dirty. I don't want to make a scene or anything, but I mean, if you're going to work for Oswald Estates, then you really should know enough to wash your hands before coming to work. Honestly. In Decay, unlike many other horror games, the electronics are all working. I know, it's unusual. Before we take a look at these doors, we should... Oh, hey, Anne Soderland. It appears this area is where she worked. I guess she did not have an office of her own, but had this little nook in the corner. Perhaps that's her? No, you wouldn't have a picture of yourself on your desk. Perhaps that's someone else. Well, it looks like someone left a message for Anne on her desk, so maybe the flowers, the hearts, and the picture were not hers, but someone brought them for her. Triangle 5, by the way. Another symbol and number, but no indication as to what those might mean, or if Anne Soderland has any connection to this story that we're experiencing. Or maybe she's just yet another unfortunate soul that we come across. Well, we can see through this to the other office, but we have no means of removing that grate. We should probably follow those footsteps. You know, I bet Oswald Estates gets a lot of complaints about the Grim Reaper painting they have in their office. It seems inappropriate for a professional office. It tells us to come closer, but doing so does not seem to really give us any information. Oh. Like in the first Decay, our character does not seem to have any opinion to give on this doll. But in the first Decay, where we found the doll, we also found a tool. We found some pliers. This time we find a screwdriver. Even though the doll looks menacing, perhaps we might think of it as our little helper, as it's been giving us useful tools so far. Thanks, little helper. Another keycard door. But the keycard that we have is not working for this one. I think we saw a place that we might be able to use that screwdriver. Before we do that, however, we should probably take a look at this. Well, Martin Wallace is who we are, judging by the information that we saw in the apartment that we woke up in. And if this is where we work, then it follows as to why the bathtub might have brought us here. This is a place that has a lot of importance to us. It also shows us that we were working for Oswald, it seems. We suspect that we're Martin Wallace, but we still can't remember anything for sure. A puzzle that we must rearrange. as horror games like us to do. And with puzzles of this sort, it is good to do the corners first, I think. Fortunately, this picture has a red outline, making that easy for us. I guess if we worked here, and if Anne was right outside our office, she must have been someone we knew. Though, from our lack of reaction to her name, I guess we can't remember her either. Alright, that's all 4 corners, and it looked like this one should go right there. And I think this one, yes, this completes that face. And that leaves only one left side piece. These look like they should, yes, like that. It's a good thing it has this red outline. Makes things easy for us. Alright, that's all the side pieces. Now we have to arrange these middle pieces. Need to complete this guy's face on the right, and this looks like this should be the piece that does that. I think this one's the woman's shoulder, yes. And these two need to be rearranged. There we go. Emily, Jim, and Lizzie. Well, we know Emily is the name of Martin's daughter from the first game, so I suppose it would follow that these are the people that we assume are dead from that car crash. We know Emily used to like to watch cartoons as a little girl. We used that cartoon to discover a combination in the first game. A phone. We did find a phone number earlier. And Anne did ask whoever found this card to call her parents, so I guess we might as well do that for her. I guess Anne's parents don't like being disturbed. They also breathe very heavily. An unknown symbol on Martin's wall. He feels the need to draw on it. I'm not sure why. Well, we found a magnifying glass anyway, and the picture of what we assume are our dead family members. Doesn't seem to be anything else in Martin's office, so let's just crawl back out for right now. What Martin doesn't remember is this is how he had to go in and out of his office, even when he used to work here. Oh, hold on. There's something new here on the floor. Someone telling us to listen to the melody and leaving a wooden box. We can't open the box, however. It's locked. We're stuck. There is a hole, but we don't have anything, it seems, that would be able to fit into there, unless maybe the screwdriver could be used. No, it cannot. As I was saying, when Martin used to work here, Oswald just boarded up his door for giggles, just a practical joke. And Martin just had to crawl through here every day He was considering filing a complaint with HR, but he didn't want to make waves. Anything else we could do in Oswald Estates before we leave? Well, this painting of the Grim Reaper did say to come closer. We came as close as we could, but there didn't seem to be any clues or any hints. But we do have the means to look a little bit closer now. People don't know me. They think they do. They don't. Oswald, I guess, liked to write emo poetry when no one was looking on the painting of the Grim Reaper in his office. I look at people, the more I look at people, the more I hate them. None of us are saints. It's true. That's no reason to hate everyone. None of us are perfect. The Grim Reaper with a plus sign on his forehead. He's also standing atop the number 1. We've seen a few symbols connected to numbers before. Still no indication as to what that might mean, but we just might want to remember that. No indication as to why we're here still, but at least we are finding some items and able to... Oh. This arrow was not here before. Someone with a message for us? You're telling us to go up. We already were up. We were on the 4th floor before. There was nothing else up there besides the number 7 and the key card, but we might as well go back up. It does seem someone is trying to help us, though we don't know who. Some bricks have been removed since we were last here, and the hole reveals... Well, we do have a box that has a hole in it. No. It apparently does not fit in the hole, so I guess we'll just hang on to that. Triangle is still less than 7, if you were wondering. Some things are constant, some things don't change, and triangle will always be less than 7. Okay, that's 4, so we've explored, it seemed, all of Oswald's offices, except for that one locked door. So 3 is done, I think, for right now. 2, we still don't have the key card into the shining... Shining something, what was it? I was about to say Shining Gate. Is that correct? Shining Gate. Yes, I was correct. Shining Gate offices. They made Decay. We still don't have the keycard into their office. So, the only floor left to go is 1, and see if there's anything else. So far, the footsteps have been helpful, not harmful, so let's follow them. The piano is still here. Nothing else, though. Oh, on this counter, square is greater than 6. Well, of course, we all knew that. And another mechanical item. This one has an octagonal hole, so let's combine it, perhaps, with the octagonal end of our other mechanical item. Would it really be a horror game without a crank? I don't think it's possible. Now, let's see if that can fit in our box's hole. It does. We have a music box, and apparently hourglass is less than 3. Both of these things. Well, this letter did say to listen to the melody, and there was a melody coming from that wooden box. While we're here, perhaps we should take a look at this piano again. Because if we do, we can see that we can access the music box melody. If one was curious, one might try to play the melody on the toy piano. And if I was Martin Wallace, this is where I would be stuck for eternity. Because I can't play music at all, in the slightest way, not at all. So, if you're like me, and you have no idea how you would play that, you play it by starting with the smudged key, going 2 white keys down, another 2 white keys down, and then the black key to the right of where we started. For whatever reason, an employee of Shining Gate Software decided that the most secure place to hide their keycard was in the toy piano. No suicide note on the back of this one, however. Alright, so now that we have solved the music puzzle, and have gained access to Shining Gate's offices, let's take a look at where the creators of Decay work. I wonder if that's accurate to real life. When you enter Shining Gate Software offices, does a white apparition appear and come right at you? Maybe it is. Maybe that's not just something exclusive to the game. A rather morbid message. In the first game, we did see a notice that said that the car containing Jim, Emily, and Lacey, I assume that's how you pronounce that, drove into the water, and they apparently drowned, even though the bodies were not found. I doubt Martin appreciates seeing this message. Nothing we can do with the boarded up door. And the administrator's office is locked. We have not gotten any indication as to what the code to the keypad could be. So there's only one other door we can try. Alright, this must be where the programmers work. All 2 of them, I guess. I assume this is Shining Gate concept art on the wall. Maybe for other projects, who can say? One of the programmers has left their computer on. Oh, and I suppose has been goofing off instead of getting to work on Decay Part 3. Well, since they left this game of Breakout open for us, we might as well enjoy it ourselves. I mean, Martin seems so depressed. He could use a good game, I think. In Breakout, it's kind of good to try to get the ball to go above the blocks and just bounce around up there for a while, if we can make that happen. Nah, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen right now. Ah, there we go. See, just a nice, relaxing game of Breakout. I used to like to play Breakout on the Atari 2600. I mean, obviously the game is not especially complex, It's not something you would spend a whole lot of time with now, but you know, at the time it was fun. The game worked well with the Atari. The Atari had a joystick and one button on it, not a complicated controller by any means. But Breakout was not a complicated game. You didn't even need the button. You just move the paddle around. I think you would probably play Breakout with paddle controllers, though, that came with the 2600. For some reason, thinking about it, though, I don't think I ever had those paddle controllers. Don't know why. Maybe they just didn't come with the 2600. Ah! It's a very frightening figure that appears to try to make us lose this game of Breakout. Alright, if I'm being honest, the first time I played this, yes, that thing appearing did make me lose Breakout. If you want to know. Apparently, these elaborate security measures that Shining Gate software takes requires you to win Breakout in order for the keypad to the administrator's office to activate. That must make it very inconvenient for the administrator to go in or out of that office. They must not do so very often, because if they do, they gotta come in here and play Breakout all over again. I wonder, what do you suppose the code to the keypad could be? For some reason, I have a feeling it's 1725. Now that Breakout has been conquered, the bounty, the prizes that we win, are pencil. And the happiest keycard ever. There doesn't seem to be anything else in the administrator's office. The administrator has an odd sense of decor. Are those black curtains hanging down? I mean, I guess the administrator gets to decorate their office how they want, but I've never seen that in a workplace. We did want something to write with earlier, so at least we found that. Still no writing on this card. Well, we know anyway what we need to do with that pencil, or where we need to go with it anyway, so let's head back to the 3rd floor, back to Martin's office, and see what we can write down. Martin wanted to write something down on this. However, some sort of otherworldly entity does not like us to draw outside the lines. Well, since this symbol is right here, we might as well try that. There's nothing else around to draw. Start from the left, go to the right, making a Z. And we'll see if the otherworldly forces approve of our symbol. My lines are not exactly straight. And then to the upper left. And then down. Yes, they do approve, and they let us know. Triangle 4. So this symbol, triangle 4. Once again, symbols and numbers, though we have not seen. Oswald Estates, Martin Wallace speaking.
Your family is dead.
Just IT playing another prank on us. They don't have enough to do with their time. So, we've used the pencil, and now, over the course of the game, we've gotten many numbers and symbols. though still as of yet no indication as to what we're supposed to do with them. The only item we have not used right now, I think, is the administrator access card. And there's only one door left that has a key card lock on it. That being this one. Well, it's locked right now, but not for long. Ah, it's Oswald White's office. He has a safe in the wall, but we don't have a code. Maybe we have to play another game of Breakout to find that? Oswald has an interesting sense of decor. He's drawn symbols on the wall. We've seen these symbols before, and we have an indication of what they mean now. We've seen these symbols associated with numbers, so we know, from what we've seen earlier, triangle is 7, weird Z symbol is 4, heart, that was on the suicide note that we got before. There was a number 5 in that. Square was 6, hourglass was 3, as we saw in the music box, and according to the Grim Reaper, plus sign is 1. So now that we know those numbers, why don't we try using that on the safe? Oswald has kept a key locked away. Well, there's only been one place in this building that we've seen that we would need a key for. And that was the elevator, so perhaps Oswald did not want anyone to get into that basement. Let's have a look down there ourselves. We assumed that we were Martin Wallace, but perhaps we're not. We did wake up in Martin Wallace's apartment, and we did come to his workplace. But if the apparition is telling the truth, then we were never him. That kind of puts us back at square one, though. Only that we know that we are trying to do something that Oswald White is attempting to stop us from doing. Well, we're down here. We might as well turn the valve. Our little helper is back, telling us once again to dive into the black water. And just like the end of Decay Part 1, there's really nothing else we can do but go down into the deep. And that's it for Decay Part 2. In Part 2, we went through Martin Wallace's workplace. We found out something about Oswald White, that being that Martin worked for him. And we found out that perhaps we're not Martin after all, but that Martin wants us to do something, and to stop Oswald White from doing something else. But still, no real answers, just more questions. This time round, the extras are not concept art like last time, but rather it's a URL and a login and password that you can enter to download the soundtrack for Decay Part 2. I think it's the same music that was used in Part 1 as well. I won't put that on the screen because the idea is that you should have bought the game to download the soundtrack. So I won't go that far as to put the username and password on there. So that's Decay Part 2. Next time, we'll continue on with Part 3 and see where our unknown nameless protagonist's adventures take him, and what exactly it is that we're doing in the first place. Who is the white apparition? Is it really Martin? What is Oswald trying to do? And who is our little helper? Maybe we'll find out at the end. But that's it for Decay Part 2. That's it for this horror of XBLIG. I'll see you next time with Decay Part 3. See you then.